Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, like a candle that refuses to die in a room without air. Distance did not heal it, it only gave it a longer echo, and every echo learned my name before it learned silence. I left, but the pain stayed behind in my shadow, walking with me like an unpaid debt of the heart. New streets did not erase old footsteps, they only taught the memories how to travel. The wound did not close, it learned to breathe, inhaling your absence, exhaling my weakness. I stitched myself with patience, thread by thread, yet every stitch whispered your name. Separation promised peace, but delivered longing, a quiet that screamed louder than our fights. I sleep on pillows of forgetting, but wake on stones of remembering. The wound is alive, it has a pulse, it beats whenever your thought passes by. It bleeds in colors no doctor understands. Red of love, black of regret, blue of helplessness. I tried to bury you in time, but time kept bringing flowers to your grave. Every season wears your face in some corner. Every wind carries a rumor of your voice. The wound drinks my courage at night and leaves me thirsty for you at dawn. I laugh in crowds, but cry in commas, between sentences where your name should be. You left, but your absence stayed.
Rent-free, shameless, permanent.
It rearranged my heart like broken furniture. Nothing fits where it used to be. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, like a child waiting at a door that will not open. Hope stands there with tired eyes, refusing to sit, refusing to sleep. I told myself, it's over, 1,000 times, but my heart heard wait in every goodbye. Logic packed its bags and left. Emotion built a house in your memory. The wound learned my routines. It knows when I'm weakest. It visits me in the middle of strength and leaves me in the middle of tears. Your name is a small word, but it carries a heavy storm. I say it in my mind and the sky darkens. I avoid it and the thunder comes. Anyway, separation was a distance, not a cure, a space, not a solution. The wound did not die. It matured, grew roots in deeper places. I drink patience like bitter medicine, but the illness loves my blood. I pray for forgetting, but memory is a stubborn believer. Your laughter is a ghost in my ears, your silence a wall in my chest. I am crowded with you, even when I am alone. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I have stopped asking why. Some pains are not questions, they are sentences without a full stop. I walk forward with a backward heart. My eyes see tomorrow, my soul sees you. Every new beginning trips over your ending. Every smile borrows from old tears. The wound does not want healing, it wants you, and since it cannot have you, it settles for hurting me. I forgive you in public, but blame you in private. I release you with my mouth, but hold you with my veins. Nights are long because you are not there. Days are heavy because you once were. The clock moves, but I remain, standing in the time we lost. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I have learned to live with its noise. It is the background music of my life, a sad song that never ends. I am not broken, I am bruised by memory, not empty, just occupied by you. If love is a lesson, I was a slow learner. If pain is a teacher, I graduated with honors. Your absence is not nothing, it is something sharp, cuts through my calm, and bleeds into my peace. The wound keeps your fingerprints, on every thought, on every dream. No matter how far I go, you remain the closest distance. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and maybe it always will. Some loves do not end, they only change the way they hurt. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, like a river that lost its source but not its flow. It keeps moving through my days, carving valleys in my strength. I carry you in places you never touched, in thoughts you never heard, in dreams you never promised, yet in every hope you silently owned. The wound sits beside me when I eat, and starves when I smile. It knows I pretend, and it pretends with me. Your absence is a loud whisper, your memory a quiet scream. I try to replace you with time, but time refuses to compete. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it has learned my language. It speaks in sighs. It writes in tears. I look for you in strangers' faces, in half-familiar laughter, in passing glances that mean nothing, yet feel like everything. The wound has grown clever. It hides behind normal days. It waits until I am safe, then breaks in. I tell myself I am strong, and I am. But strength does not mean unhurt. It only means unbroken. Your name is a prayer I don't want to pray, a curse I don't want to say. It stays on my tongue like unfinished truth, like a story without an ending. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I have stopped fighting it. Some battles are not meant to be won, only endured. I have folded my dreams around your absence, made space for what is not there. The heart is strange like that. It accommodates its own destruction. You were not just a person, you were a season. And now every season feels wrong, as if the calendar betrayed me. The wound counts the days since you left, like a prisoner scratching walls. Each mark is a memory, each memory a small death. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I breathe through it. It is a hole in my chest, but air still finds a way. I loved you in ways I cannot explain, and lost you in ways I cannot accept. Some losses do not leave. They only change their shape. Your silence taught me noise. Your absence taught me presence. Now I feel you everywhere, especially where you are not. The wound wears your face, even when I close my eyes. It smiles when I am weak, and cries when I am strong. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I write to keep it quiet. Every word is a bandage, every line a prayer. I tried to hate you, but love blocked the way. I tried to forget you, but memory stood guard. The wound is loyal to you, even when you are not loyal to me, keeps your place empty, as if you might return. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and hope is its worst enemy. Hope keeps reopening it, just to see if you are there. I envy the people who never met you. Their hearts are clean. Mine is written in your handwriting, with ink that will not fade. The wound is tired, but it refuses to rest. It fears that if it sleeps, you might be forgotten. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I am learning its weight. It is heavy, but it is mine. I will carry it quietly, like a secret I never wanted. I will smile over it, like a scar that still hurts, because even after being separated, the wound remains alive. And so do I. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it has learned to walk beside me. It does not ask permission. It does not knock. It simply enters my thoughts like it owns them. I wake up with your absence on my pillow, and sleep with your memory in my arms. The bed is empty, but my heart is crowded. The wound listens when I talk to myself. It answers in echoes of you. I argue with silence, and silence wins. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, like a clock that ticks only your name. Every second is shaped like you. Every minute tastes like regret. I drink tea with shaking hands, not because it is hot, but because you are not there to hold the cup. Small things hurt the most. The wound remembers what I try to forget, and forgets what I try to remember, keeps you safe inside me, and throws the rest away. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I am tired of pretending otherwise. Tired of brave smiles, tired of strong words, tired of being fine. You were not a chapter, you were the book. Now I flip empty pages, waiting for your lines to return. The wound hums, your voice in the dark, a lullaby made of loss. I close my ears, but my heart is a bad listener. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and loneliness knows my address, comes uninvited, sits too close, and talks about you. I miss you in ordinary moments, in queues, in traffic, in rain. I miss you when nothing is happening, because you were my something. The wound asks questions I cannot answer. Why? How? What if? I silence it with tears, the only language it understands. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I am learning to breathe around it. Not through it, not without it, but around it. I see couples and feel smaller, hear laughter and feel older. Your absence ages me, your memory keeps me young. The wound has made a home in my chest, painted the walls with your smile. I live in a house built by love, and haunted by goodbye. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it has a voice. It calls you when I am quiet, it begs you when I am proud. I tell people I am okay, and they believe me. I tell my heart the same thing, and it laughs. The wound knows your favorite places, your favorite words, your favorite way of leaving. It repeats them all. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I am not angry anymore. Anger got tired, but pain has stamina. I fold your memory into my prayers and send them to the sky. God listens, but you do not. The wound has turned my tears into routine, my sadness into habit. I no longer cry loudly, I leak quietly. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it watches me grow, sees me change, but it never changes. I became stronger, but it became deeper. I learned to smile, but it learned to hide. The wound is not dramatic. It is patient. It waits for lonely nights and empty rooms. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and sometimes I talk to it. I ask it to leave. It asks me to remember. I lost you once, but I lose you every day. Every morning you are gone again, and every night I search. The wound is a shadow that cries, a scar that bleeds, a memory that breathes. It is alive. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I walk with it into tomorrow. Not because I want to, but because it will not let go. I will keep going, even if it hurts. I will keep loving, even if it scars. Because even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and love, unfortunately, is too. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it has learned my schedule. It knows when the world goes quiet, and chooses that moment to speak. It waits for the lights to turn off, for the phone to sleep, for the room to be empty. Then it calls your name. The wound is not loud. It is persistent, like dripping water on stone. It shapes me slowly. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I have stopped running. You cannot outrun what lives inside you. You cannot escape what you loved. Your absence has weight, presses on my chest. Some days I breathe shallow, afraid to disturb the pain. The wound keeps old conversations, replays them like favorite songs. I know every word, yet I listen again. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it has opinions, tells me who to trust and who will leave. It warns me before I smile too wide, before I hope too hard. It has learned the cost of believing, and it charges interest. The wound has turned my heart into a museum. Everything is labeled you. Do not touch, do not forget, do not move on. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I carry it like a quiet child. It clings when I try to be brave, cries when I try to be calm. I am gentle with it now. Harshness never helped. Some pains need patience, not punishment. The wound is not my enemy. It is my evidence, proof that I loved, and that it mattered. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I do not deny it. Denial is another form of lying, and I am tired of lies. I let the tears come when they want. I let the memories pass. I no longer chase healing. I walk with hurting. The wound watches the world move on and asks why I cannot. I have no answer, only excuses. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and it has seasons. Some days it is winter, cold and heavy. Some days it is summer, burning and loud. The wound knows the difference between night and day, and prefers the night. Darkness makes it brave. Silence makes it honest. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I write you in everything, in margins, in pauses, in unfinished thoughts. You are my invisible punctuation. The wound remembers your eyes, not their color but their promise. It remembers how I felt, not how you looked. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I have accepted it. Acceptance is not peace, it is surrender. I surrender to missing you, to thinking of you, to feeling you in empty places. I stop resisting. The wound sits with me in prayer, kneels with me in weakness. It does not ask God to remove it. It asks him to explain you. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and sometimes I smile at it. Not because it is funny, but because it is familiar. Familiar pain is strange comfort. It does not surprise. It does not shock. It only stays. The wound has taught me to be quiet, to listen, to notice small hurts. It has sharpened my empathy. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I am different now. Not worse, not better, just changed. I trust slower, love softer, hope carefully. Your leaving wrote these rules. The wound is not dramatic. It is realistic. It knows people leave, even when they promise not to. Even after being separated, the wound remains alive, and I am still here, breathing, working, existing, living, not healed. I do not expect it to die. Some wounds are forever. They become part of you, like a second heartbeat.